Right, so welcome, 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 and thank you so much for coming. This is the Quantum Mind Mastery Method, becoming the you were born to become, emotional freedom through conscious thought, with me, John Tuck. Now, we're going to do just some brief introductions, like go around the room, introduce each other, because always good to set the scene with who's here. And then what I'll do is I'm going to take you through a few basic, simple mind energy techniques for reducing anxiety and fear. What I want to do first is to set our intention. So my intention is to provide for you a some useful and positive information on how to deal with anxieties and fears and a whole bunch of other stuff by teaching you with several mind energy techniques. And my intention is to provide it unconditionally, whether you buy into my course or not, although I will be plugging the course, obviously, particularly towards the end. So yeah, if you could set your intentions from what you want to get from the webinar, and I mean, as I said, so I'll be teaching you a few very simple energy techniques to reduce anxiety and fear, for increased happiness and confidence. Also to deal with the mind chatter, the monkey mind, so harmonization of thought, to provide clarity of thought, and very importantly, for faster and more positive decision making. Decision making is key to human psychology, and the ability to make quick, fast decisions in the absence of all of the clutter in your mind, for me, has been absolutely fundamental to my improved learning and improved situation. So improving that, but also you can expect improved relationships with people. So removing the propensity to forward project a negative scenario based on something that hasn't even happened yet. So equally, I mean, fundamentally, providing you with a greater ability to deal with what life throws at you, because life does throw stuff at you all the time. So if you practice these techniques and more, if you were to look at my course, then you'll be able to deal with things with greater confidence and ease. And equally, you'll be attracting less negative things into your life and more positive things into your life. So yeah, if you want to set your intentions, and if I can ask you to get a pen and a paper too, because what we're going to do is we're actually going to test these techniques in real time. So yeah, if you've got pen and paper, let me know if you need a bit more time. But what I'd like you to do is to make a list of 2 or 3 things, triggers, thoughts that you know cause you anxiety or fear or confusion. And you know the difference between a thought that has a positive connotation, which makes you feel good, and a thought that has a negative connotation and it makes you feel bad. And I'm talking, for example, if you've had a chat with your boss that's left you feeling uncertain or cautious, or even anywhere towards resentful or disappointed, or any of those emotions. I'd keep it simple at this stage. So I'm not talking about going back to your passage through the birth canal at birth, because and that's a real thing. That's a real thing that can cause trauma. But I mean, just keep it simple for now. An argument you've had with your partner, just something that triggers something. Yeah, and feel free to ask questions at any point for clarification. I mean, I'm acutely conscious that if the person you're talking to doesn't understand something, it's usually not because they're stupid. It's because you haven't explained it properly. So, feel free to ask questions. And yeah, well, I'll turn my share off now, but if you could just briefly introduce yourselves, who you are, where you're from, maybe you want to talk about where you are on your spiritual path already and why you chose to join the seminar, although mainly because I invited you, I know. But yeah, so anyone step up.
I'll go first.
All right, okay, go on then, Becky.
Hi, I'm Becky. I'm from Tidworth, Wiltshire, and um, where am I on my spiritual path? I'm about 4 years into roller coaster ride. Um, oh, I don't even know. Um, but particularly this year, I've been thrown like so far. I've come so far in this year, like in myself and courses I've done and like um come out of myself more with more confidence, loads more confidence, and yeah, just going for what I think that I need to do. Um Started on a path of sort of shamanic sort of path, um learning how to use plant medicines and stuff like that. And it feels really natural to me. Um, and as someone explained to me not long ago, how I've been doing this sort of thing like all my life, like holding space for people, for instance. I'm like just done a course, recently done a course, and part of it was holding space. And my boyfriend said to me, "Well, it seems like you've been doing that your whole life." I was like,
Yeah,
"Oh yeah, it's like we've been in training for these things our whole life, and don't even realize it. It's just like a normal thing you just do all the time." And actually, yeah. So it's saying I'm learning things that are quite natural to me and it feels like the right thing, yeah, moving forward. And yeah, I'm really positive about where we are in the world and where I am. Everything's how it's supposed to be, and I'm excited for the future. And yeah, that's about it.
awesome. Thank you, Becky. And what is it you think I can help you with today? Because you're pretty advanced in it all. I know you've read my book, and what.
Your book changed my life and was one of the first parts of my journey. So I'll always be grateful for
Well,
finding you and our paths crossing. And yeah, you taught me a lot, and you still teach me a lot, just generally in conversation. So that's why I came today, really, because I know I'll get from it whatever I need to get from it, and
that's a good
there will be
philosophy. Thank you.
something.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. Thank you, Becky. That's really cool. I mean, I've known for a long time that you're all well and truly on your path, and you blow my mind with everything you do and the progress you make. So thank you for coming. Really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Adam, do you want to go first? I'm not sure. Shanna, are you still there? We can't.
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm just trying to unload groceries. I'm sorry.
Oh, right,
I told you I
okay.
was going to try and make it today, but I am doing it with I'm here, but I'm also doing other stuff. I'm sorry.
Oh no, no, no worries. I mean, this is at your convenience. So, Yeah, I mean, Adam, if you want to,
Yeah, I can go. And so yes, so my name's Adam. I've met John many years ago now, and know Becky as well. We've met on a few occasions. So I guess my journey started in around about 2017, 2018, something like that. I lost 4 friends in a year. 4 friends died in a year, all of them too young. And I kind of spiritually started to question a bunch of things. And I had some counseling because of that. And then kind of COVID hit. And my wife and I realized actually, whilst we were reasonably good, we weren't good 24/7. And that kind of eventually meant that the marriage kind of ended, unfortunately. But during that time, I kind of did Reiki, and I did a lot of meditation type stuff, and kind of had lots of conversations with John about various different things in meditation. So for me, every time I have a conversation with John, I come away thinking, I've learned something new here. I've had a different perspective on life. I've had a different thought process. It's always been something that has been hugely beneficial to me. I value John as a friend hugely. So I don't get to see him enough now that he lives up in Scotland. But actually, I think when I read his book that was written for his boys, that kind of resonated hugely with me, because I've got 2 children, a boy and a girl, and my son is 24 years old and my daughter's 20, and they're just kind of going through some hard times, and obviously the separation and divorce kind of hit them quite hard as well. So John's book was hugely beneficial to me. So I'm here with my ears open to hear some interesting conversations, and kind of take whatever comes from it, really.
awesome. Thank you, Adam. And yeah, you've been a tremendous friend too. And just for the record, nobody, I haven't paid anyone anything at this point because you've been far too. Well, I'm grateful. Thank you. Shanna, if you're not, if it's not convenient for you, no worries. But if you do want to introduce yourself, that would be great because I know Shanna through our mutual marketing group. And Shanna does some really cool work too, surrounding nutrition. But I wonder if you want to have a talk about that, Shanna?
Okay, sorry.
Awesome.
I'm sorry. Sorry, I'm a distraction. Um, let's see. Yeah, John and I know each other from a mutual group, or two. I'm not sure how many groups we're in together, but at least one. And John came to one of my most recent webinars, which I greatly appreciate. I'm a lifestyle medicine practitioner and a health and wellness coach and a holistic nutritionist. So I focus a lot on food. But due to the fact that I'm a lifestyle medicine practitioner, we also focus on some other pillars, which include, stress and social emotional connections.
Yeah.
And spirituality kind of rolls into that as well, because those things can definitely affect every aspect of your life, including physically on a cellular level. So I come at things more from a scientific perspective, typically. However, my spiritual journey actually started in the 90s when I found the Celestine Prophecy. So,
Brilliant book.
and
Yeah.
yes, I have
Yeah.
all of them, the whole
Yeah.
series, and I usually read them again about every year or two, just to kind of, I guess, reset myself. So I've always been big into that. I also am a level 2 Reiki. So I feel like I'm kind of a weird mix in that I understand how energy works. But as a scientist, it's difficult to explain to people in my genre because they're very like hard science. So I lost, I mean, I grew up going to funerals, so I think that's probably one of the reasons I found the Celestine prophecy. I have always done pretty well with death, probably because I grew up around it. So it doesn't seem to affect me as much as other people on the outside. Um, I do still feel it. I'm just not great at expressing it, and that's I guess part of my personality. But I think that being in touch with your spirituality and what that means to you and how that helps you further evolve is very important. And I think a lot of times we get disconnected just with life in general. So it's always nice for me to hear other people's perspectives and maybe get some insight as to how other people view spirituality because it gives me new information to continue my spiritual evolution ultimately. So
Awesome.
I'm here because John asked me to be here.
Yeah. Thank
I'm
you.
really trying to make it work. It's just a crazy day for me, but I'm trying.
No, thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it. I really appreciate you being on here. And
Yeah.
maybe at the end you can tell Becky and Adam more about what you do too, because I went to your seminar and very impressed, and it may be something they'd be interested in too.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, I'm interested to hear how this goes. So I'm going to go back off camera now so I
Yeah,
don't
no worries.
distract
Thank you for
anybody
that.
else.
Appreciate it. Okay, awesome. So cool. We're all Reiki. We're all at least connected in that space. How cool is that? Yeah, so any questions at this point, or shall I crack on with my spiel, as it were?
Nothing from me.
Right, okay. So what I'm going to do, I'll try and keep this brief. One thing I loved about Shanna's presentation that I watched a couple of weeks ago was the length of it. It was just right. It wasn't too long or too short. So I've tried to imitate what she did. So I better crack on, stop waffling, crack on with it. I'm going to give you an introduction to myself, but mainly to try and elucidate how I got into what I got into and where I got all of my inspiration from and what caused me to go down this path in the first place. I'm then going to talk to you about what I have understood to be the causes of anxieties, fears, blockages, and not being the best version of yourself. Firstly, by introducing you to what I recognize as what I see to be a fundamental flaw in human psychology. I'll then explain where that flaw comes in and where we, at what stages during our lives we're susceptible to that flaw. And I'll then explain a bit more about the science. Like I said, like Shannon, I approach things as you know, from a scientific perspective. But one of the reasons I wrote my book was that Einstein said that if you can't explain it to an 8-year-old, you probably don't understand it yourself. So I took that challenge, and I've tried to make it understandable for everyone. So then I'll move on to the solutions. So during the solutions, I'll explain where we're going to operate in the thought process, and then I'll explain 3 very simple mind techniques for reducing anxieties, fears, and blockages. And then we're going to test the theory live once I've introduced them to you. Okay. So yeah, excuse me. Yeah, this is me at the age of 8. I think it's probably maybe a couple of months after, I experienced a life-changing accident when I was 8 years old. Um, this is my sister, this is my friend, and I was out on my bicycle with my friend. I say my bicycle, I'd actually stolen my father's bicycle because my bicycle was had a puncture and I wasn't allowed to use it. And we were just riding on our usual ride. We'd go very regularly, and we were coming down a big steep hill where we always used to ride down. And one of the things we used to do was to backpedal. So we backpedaled as we went hurtling down this road, and I forgot that my father's bike had a back pedal brake. So when I got close to the bottom of the hill, I furiously backpedaled. I came off my bike straight over the handlebars, and I hit my head on the curb on the left-hand side of my head. What that's where all the bruising and damage was. But what happened was that my brain bounced across my head and hit my skull on the right hand side. So I had a massive blood clot on the right hand side. I think I was perfectly conscious at the time. My friend Nick went to find my parents. They came. We went to the local A&E, but that's the last I remember at all. I passed out in A&E, and my mother said that she wished I'd been awake for the journey to the neurological ward in Southampton, because we were given a 5 police escort down the motorway. And that's pretty special. I mean, I'm so grateful, so grateful. Because I essentially, they operated on the right side of my brain to remove the blood clot. And then I went into a coma for 2 weeks. When I came out of that coma, I was completely paralyzed, and more so evidently in my right side, because I damaged the left-hand side of my brain. The right side of my body was completely paralyzed. So I learned to do everything with my left hand, and didn't realize just how significant that would be in a positive sense, moving through my life. I was given a 30% chance of not becoming a cabbage, which was acceptable terminology back then. I was told that I'd be in a wheelchair by the age of 30. I had multiple operations to correct mainly tendon length deficiencies in my right side between the age of about 14 and 19. And then at 30, I had an inch removed from my left femur to try and balance my limbs. And having whinged on about that for a while, I have to say it was the best thing that ever happened to me, and it had to happen to me. And I'm so grateful because it gave me extraordinary determination, if nothing else, to prove that the doctors were wrong and that I could find a better way, and also to uncover the truth about human psychology and physical health. Because back then, what I was being subject to and presented with didn't make any sense at all. It gave me the inspiration to study human psychology from around about the age of 14. I was already very conscious of the fact that I had both physical trauma and psychological trauma, and I really wanted to understand how I could. I mean, back then, primarily just to be a better person. You know, I knew I had anger issues. I knew I had issues that were linked to the trauma that I'd experienced. I looked around me. Well, basically, I couldn't work out. The way I thought of myself or saw myself and what I subsequently learned to be my conscious didn't translate when I actually presented myself to my environment. So I'd think about myself in a certain way. And then when it came to it, I'd behave like an idiot. And I'm like, well, what's that all about? Why did I behave like that? I thought this and then I behaved like that. And it happened again and again and again. And it's like, well, why can't I learn? And the more I observed myself and observed my friends and family and others around me, the more I realized that actually, very often they experienced the same phenomena. They talked about themselves and the way they behave in a certain way, but when it actually came to it, they didn't behave in that way at all. They behaved worse, you know. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. If I can study them enough to understand why it is they behave or experience that phenomena, then maybe I can implement what I learn on myself and become that better person that I want to be, that I know I am. So that's kind of how it all started from a psychological perspective. Then I was introduced to quantum physics during my first degree, which was absolutely fundamental, and it enabled me to begin to understand and explain many of the metaphysical stuff that's brushed under the carpet normally, but also it gave me an enhanced bullshit detector because it enabled me to really be able to understand, or at least have an idea what wasn't likely to be true and what didn't fit into the bigger picture that I developed. This is me early 20s, I think, when I that's at Glastonbury one year, and I think it was around about then that I worked out how binary code is so fundamental to the function of the brain, but particularly in terms of decision making. That was a very interesting experience. I spent most of my younger life, if nothing else, trying to prove to myself that I wasn't stupid, that I hadn't been affected by the brain damage that I suffered from a cognitive perspective. And I didn't stop until, well, I didn't really stop, but it took me to gain my doctorate in energy-based physical sciences, which was a lot of fun. I spent a lot of time in industry. I went on to co-found a company in 2014, which was a lot of fun. I became a Reiki master teacher in 2020. Now that was one of the most powerful journeys of my life, as you guys know. You know how important that has been in your lives. You know, and yeah, I mean, I think the whole Reiki journey has provided me with a platform for understanding energy in a way that I wouldn't have done without it. And I use a lot of what I've learned along the way, not necessarily in the Reiki teaching itself, but a lot of what I've learned along the way in terms of using energy techniques. And this is exactly what I've discussed in my book and what I promote in my course. So yeah, I got out of the wheelchair several times, and even though I am technically getting older, that's just a consequence of life. I think I'm actually moving towards a situation whereby I will be a lot more physically able moving forward, which I'm very excited about. And yeah, I mentioned the book that I wrote, which you guys know about, which I, as you said, originally wrote for my children, which I started in 2017. So yeah, let's any questions? Adam, you're on mute.
Yeah, I was just kind of internally reflect on what you've just said, and in many ways, our paths are quite similar. So yeah, it's good to hear it. Thank you.
Yes, I seem to remember talking to you about it. Yeah, it's I mean, for me, I think that we are deliberately provided with these so-called traumas in order to accelerate the rate at which we find out who we are and what we've come here to do, you know, and how to do what it is we come here to do. So yeah. Cool. Okay, so moving on. What are the causes and what is the um, fundamental flaw in human psychology that I mentioned earlier? So this is classical iceberg model. You've seen that before many times. And what we're describing here is the difference between the conscious, which is represented by 1 to 10% of your mind function up at the top, and your subconscious, 90 to 99% of your brain function or your mind function happens down here in your subconscious. Now, the two are fundamentally different. The conscious is in the present, it's in the now. The conscious knows nothing of the past or the future. Excuse me. It's sensory, so it relies on touch, smell, taste, sight. Um, it has no information whatsoever on how to behave, how to respond, what your core belief systems are. It has no information on that at all. It purely operates in the present, and if it needs, well, when you receive a trigger, for example, in the present, which comes into your conscious will default to your subconscious. Now, your subconscious is entirely in the past and has no idea whatsoever is going on in the present. It has no idea at all. And what happens is, which is fundamentally important when you're a baby, is that when you're conscious, by default, will consult your subconscious for information on how to perceive a situation. And your subconscious, by default, will provide the most traumatic memory to protect you, which was great when you're a child. You know, fire burns, mum shouts, you know, but to protect you from an environment that has inevitably changed, making those negative connections, you've already learned from that. You've already moved on. They are predominantly redundant negative connections. And this is what we're going to be removing. This is what we're dealing with. So that when your conscious consults your subconscious, it no longer provides a memory that is redundant, and you have greater clarity of thought and a greater ability to deal with or to present yourself in your best case. Does that make sense?
Yeah, No, absolutely. Yeah.
Great. Okay. So when do we form those traumas? And don't get me wrong, you know, there are many positive ones too. So we're only dealing with the negative ones. And as I mentioned previously about the whole birth canal thing, and I did that deliberately because you can actually experience trauma as far back as during your birth, or even before your birth, while you're in the womb. You know, a lot of what you experience between being in the womb and about 2 years old is when you form your core belief system. This is when you're in delta brain, predominantly in delta brainwave state, and you're absorbing information like a sponge. You know, so conversely, this is why particularly the indigenous tribes will sing to the pregnant woman, to sing to the child inside. You know, it's why many couples are encouraged to or will read bedtime stories to their unborn child. It's because you're already influencing the child, because the child is already picking up the information. But again, conversely, if the mother experiences a trauma or abuse or something during that period, then the child experiences it too. And what happens is that then forms their expectation of the environment that they occupy. Okay, so between the age of 2 to 6, you go into what is predominantly theta brainwave state, and this is still absorbing information, but not quite as the same rate as before. And 5 to 10 years old, you go into alpha, predominantly alpha brainwave state. I say predominantly because we're in and out of all the brainwave states all the time. But when I say predominantly, it's like 90 to 95% of the time. So you go into alpha brainwave state. But from the age of about 10, although it's understood that your brain is still developing until about the age of 22, from the age of about 10, you go into beta brainwave state, and that's it, lockdown. That's absolute lockdown on your core belief structure. It's very difficult to then influence your core belief structure beyond that age without meditation or intervention or plant medicine or a deliberate conscious effort to do so. Yeah, so does that all make sense? Cool. So when do we predominantly experience these brainwave states? So beta here is that's an adult normal everyday frequency. So you know that's where we normally reside. Alpha is accessible through meditation, and as far as I'm aware, when we're doing Reiki, we're operating in alpha brainwave state. Theta is slightly lower frequency. Experience it during REM sleep, when you're very relaxed. Also deeper sort of meditation, you'll be in theta state. Delta is the most powerful as far as I'm aware. So delta brainwave state is when you can really manipulate your subconscious and your belief system. This is when you're just falling asleep and when you're just waking up, which is why it's often speculated that it's best to do affirmations during that time. It's why you get audio tracks that teach you stuff while you're sleeping. That's how it works. It's when you're in delta brainwave state. you can access delta and indeed gamma, which is the other end of the spectrum, but also extremely powerful brainwave state for meditation and for self-realization. Both delta and gamma are very powerful for the fundamental questions of who am I? What am I doing here? Why am I here? What's my purpose? What excites me? What gets me going? What should I be doing? All of these amazing things. Yeah, so that's just an overview. The frequency of the brainwave state shouldn't be confused with your personal frequency. So, if everybody's talking about raising your vibration and stuff, that's not talking about brainwave state frequency. That's a different thing. Just for clarity, I was asked that once before. Yeah. So what gave me the inspiration to write my book, or even go so deeply into understanding human psychology was this little guy here. This is my youngest son, number 2 son, Alex. This is his brother William. It blows me away to think that this guy William is now 20 and Alex is 18. Oh my goodness, where did the time go? I'm so grateful I was acutely conscious that I needed to make the best of the time that I had with them as kids. But one of the things that happened with Alex when he was a baby, perhaps in that sort of delta brainwave state, between the age of 1 and 2, I have a whole plethora of excuses. I was an alcoholic. I was trying to start a business. I was going through bankruptcy. I have no excuses. I have no excuses. None of them are good enough excuses to have displayed the behavior that I displayed towards him. And even though it was over in a second, just my shouting at him and scaring him with that look in his eyes, he's so scared, made me realize that although I couldn't go back and change that instant, what I had to do, or what I wanted to do, was make better for the future. Because I realized that I could only hold myself responsible for that action. So that for me was one of the primary driving forces. And although he hasn't read the book yet, I did manage to pay him to read 100 pages. So he's made better progress than his brother. And I was so impressed. I was so impressed because I'm pretty sure he didn't read that full 100 pages, but he came across as if he nailed the whole book. So I was like, that's my son. Awesome. So yeah, fundamentally what I realized, that although it's easy to say it's your choice whether you choose to get angry or not. You can choose to let things stress you or not, or upset you or not. But you can choose equally to use techniques to reduce the propensity for you to display behavior that you're not comfortable with, you don't resonate with. So how do we do it? Okay, so you can begin to choose clarity over peace and peace over stress and anxiety. By changing the way you're feeling or behaving, one of the key elements to that is to become aware of your thoughts as they happen in real time, and to become aware of the negative thoughts as they crop up before you react, because you can feel, as I said before, I mean, you know, if you have a positive thought, it makes you lift you up, and if you have a negative thought, it brings you down, and you can feel it. And we're going to be looking after this slide at where that point is and how you can really begin to observe yourself and catch yourself in that moment in order to apply the simple mind techniques. By doing that, you're going to be decluttering your thought process. You're going to be providing far greater clarity in your thought, and as a result, the action you take, the behavior you display, will become far more positive as you remove the negative, redundant memories that we looked at previously. And it's not a quick fix. There's no silver bullet. You know, it's for me, it was through consistent practice and consistent work and consistently taking a step out of myself and looking at my behavior. And I'm extremely grateful to my boys for that, because every moment I spent with my boys was precious. And I, not quickly, but over a period of a few weeks, was able to really make what I saw as being significant progress in behaving the way I expected myself to behave and behaving the way I wanted to behave. To talk, I just want to explain, when I first wrote my book, that was the other reason. I was attending a so-called ADHD seminar, webinar by a very clever child psychologist. And it was essentially surrounding Alex. So Alex's mother and I attended this seminar because he was so-called ADHD. And I was blown away by this trainer, because she said immediately up front, she said, if you want to help your child with their behavior, you must first address your own. And that for me was fundamental. And I just went, wow, I love this woman. That's brilliant. That's an approach you don't often hear. It's like, give the child some drugs, they'll shut up. You know, I mean, what? You know, so I was completely hooked. I was bought, and I was on fire. I wouldn't shut up. And eventually she said, John, you're gonna have to shut up now. And I was like, well, okay, yeah, I know. Okay. She said, but I want you to write a book. And I was like, yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, I'm enjoying that. Okay. And I wrote the first draft in 3 months. And I sent it to her, because essentially to make sure I wasn't talking shit, because you know, I've no qualifications or education in psychology. I mean, this lady's got two, not one, but 2 PhDs in child psychology. So I'm like, need to send it to her first, because, you know, and what she came back with was just incredible. She said, if every parent in the world read this book, the world will be a better place. And I was like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. And that's cool. Yeah, I enjoyed that. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. I think that there are a plethora of reasons why we have these negative blockages, and not all of them come from your childhood, from those critical stages of your childhood. A lot of them are actually indoctrinated into us by society and the way in which we're raised, and through no fault of our parents and through no fault of anyone who's unconscious to the situation. And yeah, what I was saying is that, you know, there is no silver bullet. It's really just through practice and dedication to observation of your thoughts. But I can assure you, the more you practice, the easier it becomes, and the quicker you can work with your own psychology. So how does it work? Okay, so basically, you have a trigger, a thought, a negative thought, or a thought. We're looking at negative thoughts now, but so your conscious will request information from your subconscious. Your subconscious, by default, will provide the most negative memory, which will produce another thought or feeling. And again, as I said, if it's negative, you know. If it's positive, you know. And it's at this point that you can begin to influence your subconscious, because if you were to apply any of the techniques, the mind techniques, at this point, you'll then have an interpretation with clarity, with the negative thought removed, and display positive behavior. Doesn't always happen that way. That's an idealistic scenario. But what is most common that happens in most human psychology is that you will interpret that thought negatively, and you will then begin to build up secondary negative thoughts, and you'll build up thought over thought over thought as you go around this cycle. But as I said, once you master this, being able to observe yourself in this pattern, then things will become a lot more loosen, and you'll be able to start to remove those layers. And just to give you an example, and just to break from that, I love this quote: when you can't control what's happening, challenge yourself to control the way you respond to what's happening. And that's where your power is. And that's what we're aiming to do ultimately. But just to give you a real-time example, say you've had an argument with your partner or a friend. The thought is, I'm sad, I'm confused, I'm angry. Your conscious requests information from your subconscious. The memory is the most negative trauma. The thought is a negative thought. So if you weren't to catch yourself here, then the interpretation is with negative bias. So, for example, your original thought is, I'm sad. Your secondary thought is, what if they hate me now? You know, you go round this cycle. What if they never understand me? What if I've made a mistake? What if they're using me? What if they're lying to me? All of these things build up layer upon layer upon layer. And what you recognize is that actually none of those things have happened. None of those things are actually true. But because you're conscious of it, you're making them true. You're forward projecting those things in that relationship, unless at this point you change the way you think. And we're going to use one of the methods that I'll show you soon, and that's the what if up method. So I'm sad. What if I don't need to be sad? What if I can be happy? What if now? What if, with the better clarity and perspective that I now have, I can be patient and have a rational discussion and resolve the situation? What if they're just busy? What if they're just distracted? What if what I'm thinking has no relevance at all on how they perceive me or think about me? So that's essentially where we're going to be getting to with the techniques that I'll be teaching you next. Does that all make sense? Are you happy with that? Great. So one of the first ways I came across to dispel negative thoughts, to actually dissolve them. You can dissolve the connotation to the negative connotation to traumatic memories by holding the thought in your mind and not allowing it to evoke any further negative thoughts. Just holding it in your mind, not indulging it, just leaving it there. And what you'll find will happen is that as you don't indulge it, the thought will actually disappear. It'll just disappear. One way to accelerate that, or to actually facilitate that consciously, is to consciously acknowledge them, to accept them, and to allow them. And I explain this to my boys in so much as to Will, to say, when Alex is constantly trying to get your attention, when you just ignore him, he goes away, doesn't he? But if you indulge him, he'll really get on your nerves, And it's a sort of similar scenario. When you acknowledge that they're there, accept them and allow them, then they've got nowhere to go. They've got no fuel to burn. So that's the first one. The next one is one that's so simple, and interestingly, I love this one. It's the "I love you" mantra, and what you'll find is if you have a negative thought, or you begin to negatively forward project, then if you simply repeat to yourself in your mind or even out loud, if you dare, "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you." And what you'll find is that as you repeat that phrase, the negative, your shoulders will drop, the negative will just dissolve out of the equation, and you'll be left with far greater clarity of thought on how to respond. And the one time I usually use this with very great effect, and it used to be on a regular basis. I don't drive so far anymore, but I used to be paranoid about speed cameras, and even to the degree that I wouldn't have a clue whether I was speeding or not. And usually I wasn't, but my mind would just say, "Oh, you're going to get a ticket. It's a done deal. You're screwed." So what I'd think, I'd see the camera or the Taliban, the mobile unit, and I'd just think to myself, "I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you." And that would just relax me, and I wouldn't forward project the negative scenario. And I went from a situation whereby I would literally wait 2 weeks to get the ticket. I'd literally be on my mind for 2 weeks, whether it came or not, to a situation whereby within seconds I could just get on with my journey, and I never got the ticket, touch wood. So yeah, all good. The third one is the one we looked at previously, and it's my favorite one of the three, because you're not only removing the negative thought in real time, but you're also replacing it with a positive affirmation. And this is attributed to Joe Vitale. So I learned this from Joe Vitale long time ago. And for example, if you're planning a party or an outdoor party or something, or maybe there's a football match going on that you're wanting to watch, and you look out in the morning and the weather's looking pretty bad, and you think, oh, what if it's going to rain? You know, you could change that thought to, what if it's going to be a beautiful day? What if it gets the sun comes out? Or even, what if even if it rains, I have an amazing time? You know. So do those three methodologies, simple mind techniques, all resonate with you? I now we're going to do the exercise. We're actually going to do the real-time exercise. If you want to put your cameras back on, or turn your mics back on, we'll have a chat. So when in your own time, I want you to take a look at the list that you made and choose one of the negative triggers and one of the methods that I've just described, and just have a play around with it. Try and consciously evoke that negative feeling, and then use whichever method it is to dispel it, and see how you get on with that. Shanna, are you with us on this, or you good?
I'm listening, but like I said, I'm unfortunately I'm multitasking, so I'm trying to do other things at the same time while I'm listening.
No worries. So, Becky, you're in the dark.
It might be too light. Hang on. There we go.
That's better. That's better. So how'd you get on?
Yeah. That's a really good recap. That stuff obviously I've learnt before from your book and
Yeah,
you.
yeah,
Which I do use, but yeah, the two things I had written down was money and finances.
yeah,
It's one of the only things that can
yeah.
knock me a bit
Yeah,
still.
I can relate. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And my kids and
Oh,
school,
absolutely. Yeah,
things,
yeah,
to do with the kids. So yeah, just must remember when those ones pop up to use especially I love you, I love you, I love you. I like
yeah.
that one. That always works.
Awesome. So powerful.
Yeah, thank you for the reminder.
No, it's always good. That's one of the reasons I'm providing a coaching and course, in order to try and instill the discipline to continue to practice, because yeah, it took me a long time to
Mm,
really discipline myself to do it to the point that it made the massive difference, you know.
yeah,
And I think also it's good, as you said, to get that refresher. I need refreshers on everything all the time.
yeah,
I have I have my own mentors. I have multiple mentors. You know, you can't have enough. You can never um, learn too much, or get too much of a kick up the arse for not having done what you said you were going to do. So, Adam, how did you get on?
Yeah, no, I did. Most of my pressures are generally around work-related stuff, although, like Becky, money and finances is something that I've had to kind of grapple with, especially since um, I got divorced and I've now got a mortgage again, or a big mortgage, which I didn't have before. But the other thing was really work-related stuff. So um, I've got a project manager at work who doesn't talk precisely, and I'm an engineer by background.
Oh
Um,
yeah, I can. Yeah,
and so when I talk about something, I'm normally thinking about it in a very precise way because
yeah,
I'm in a technical role. And I find that I have to explain things kind of like 10 times. And I'm not the only one who has to explain it 10 times. It's not, as I say, it's not just me, but
yeah,
it's kind of like one of those things because, and so whilst there are times when I just want to just say, it'd be easier if you didn't know, and then I
yeah.
would be able to get on and do it. But he kind of doesn't. Um, but I didn't really want to say, I love you, I love you, I love you. Because I don't. But yeah, in terms of trying to just keep calm and not
Yeah,
is
not react, not
yeah,
respond.
it's kind of very difficult. So your first method of trying to acknowledge it works quite well. And normally what I try and do is just keep my mouth shut.
Yeah,
Um, and just kind of I don't clench my teeth, but I kind of make sure I don't open my mouth. And that way I try and like you suggested, just kind of hold that thought and just
yeah.
let it rattle around a little bit, and then kind of observe that kind of happening. Um, so that kind of works quite well. And I was just doing it then actually, and I was quite amazed. I just did it then, and some of the things he'd told me, and how actually it evoked a reaction in me
Yeah.
just by me thinking about it. I was thinking, oh my god,
Wow.
it's really kind of it really kind of hit me. And I try not to think about work when I'm not there, but it just suddenly kind of hit me on some of the things that have happened. Um, so that was quite useful. I was going to try the what if he doesn't say those silly things, but actually that's never happened. Uh, so I think the holding the thought.
So it's what if whatever he says, I can deal with it,
Yeah, yeah. I was kind of taking it as well. What if he never says those silly things? But
Yeah, yeah,
actually he does.
yeah,
But yeah. So I think certainly the first approach for me in that particular scenario works really well. I think with my children and some things that the challenges of parenthood, I love you, I love you, I love you will work quite well. Um,
it,
because
it's not so much the scenario, it's the frequency of the words.
yes, yeah,
So I think I see what you mean, but you can apply it to anything without um the connotation of love towards
yeah,
whatever it is. It's
yeah,
it's really the frequency that you're delivering to yourself to harmonize the energy that's being created.
yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah.
but definitely don't say to whoever it is, "I love you, I love you, I love you."
Yeah,
That's
no.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I'm with you on that one. Yeah.
yeah. The trouble
Yeah.
is now that I've got that thought in my head, it might well crop out. It might come out.
Right, yeah. Oh, that'd be so funny. Please get someone to film it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I've just noticed the time. Are you guys all right running over? Because I did this much more succinctly last fortnight ago. So I do apologise. We're running late. And Shanna, if you got stuff to do, appreciate you haven't been here. If you're still around and want to stay, I'm just going to spend 5 minutes selling my course.
I do appreciate it. I have unfortunately I have more meetings. Today's a work day for me, so I have clients that I have to respond to.
No
So
worries,
I'm
Shanna.
I'm gonna have to jump off, but I really did appreciate it and I like the presentation.
Thank you,
I
thank
think
you.
it's super helpful. And I do use the "I love you" thing a lot, but I don't say it out loud. It's in my head.
Yes, yes, that's a good point. I'd recommend, yeah, in your head.
Especially to strangers, because if I say that to a stranger when I'm trying to like rein it in, I feel
Yeah,
like that's going to create an
yeah,
interesting scenario. So
yeah,
I just say it to myself, but
yeah.
I found it works very well. So thank you for expanding on that tip. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for coming. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you guys have a great rest of your Saturday. I think you guys
Thank
are
you.
close
You
to the end of your
too.
day. It
Nice
was
to
great to
meet you.
virtually meet you.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Bye guys.
Bye.
Bye. Right, okay. Here comes the sales pitch. Are you sitting comfortably? Actually, I'll be really quick. So what I've put together is based on my book, and you know my book. So what I've done is I've put together it's dressed up as a 6 week course, so 5 videos per week. Um, I wouldn't have suggested it will take anyone 6 weeks. It could take 3 weeks or 6 months. I think what I recommend is that it really depends on where you're at in your journey. I'd imagine you guys, because you've already read the book and already started to work with the principles, you'll make progress a lot quicker. But the mind techniques is only a very small part of it. So I actually use the what I've been teaching in my book in the majority for the entirety of the course. Um, what I think ultimately is the goal and reward from completing the course is to become certifiably unfuckwithable. By which I mean, and as you were saying, Adam, nothing phases you. It's like the Buddha on the hill with the flies flying around and not phased in the slightest kind of thing. Nothing phases you. You can take whatever, and you can process it and you can respond in a way that you're proud of in every situation. Um, the becoming unfuckwithable is something which you is the top of a mountain that you get to when you see another mountain beyond that. So you get to a certain level of unfuckwithableness, and then something else will happen, and you need to learn further. You need to adapt more. But it's a stage that I reached probably first in around 2020. And I was like, wow, this is just incredible. It's like um and yeah, it's something which I really got a tremendous value from. Um the course itself, I mean, I just bring this up, this is the layout of the online platform. I've given a an as accurate as possible transcript of what I've delivered. The lessons are the first couple are about half an hour each, but beyond that, they're sort of 5-10 minutes a day if you're going to do them every day. And you get all of the slides, the handouts, everything comes on each individual page. Um, I also have a whole bunch of guided, well, at least a couple of guided meditations, which I'm doing, because the next step beyond what we've just learned is the Rainbow Bridge and the Rainbow Bridge meditation, and your ability to visualize yourself throwing away whatever it is, which is almost almost as powerful as any of the other techniques, if not more powerful. So I go into that in a lot more detail on the course, and also do a guided meditation for you. The entry level is 197 a month, which is bronze level, or fixed fee of 997. And the reason I'm giving those options is because some people might not be sure whether they're actually going to like it or not, so they can essentially have a taster. So on the monthly subscription, they can cancel at any time. So if they're really not into it, I mean, I'm personally not going to sell anyone anything that I don't think they're going to get absolute value from. But it kind of gives a bit of a guarantee and a bit of security. And I've done that for both the silver and the gold level. So bronze level is access to the course, videos, guided meditations. The silver level is with email or instant message support. And the gold level is for one-to-one consultations. So, it's essentially an hour. For the monthly subscription, you get an hour a week, which is ongoing until you cancel your subscription. And for the fixed fee, 6 times hour sessions, whenever they want to arrange them. Yeah, so thank you. Do you have any questions? And I can send you a copy of the presentation if you want any of these links. Not that you need any of them.
Thank you. It was very good. And yeah, can I have a copy of the recording of this, please?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'll put it on my YouTube channel, so I'll send you a link.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much, John. That's much appreciated. Yes, I'd be interested to possibly look at a bit more details. I'll take a note of those.
Well, I can send you the presentation if you want.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yes, and I'll take a look at these URLs as well.
I mean, do you think this could be something that might be useful to your son, for example?
Yeah, possibly. Yes. Yeah, I think there's some things in his life that he could do with some extra thought on. So absolutely. So yeah, I'll have a chat with him about it and talk to him about it, because I think he's in the middle of traveling, but he can normally make time for all these things. So yeah, I'll have a chat with him about it.
Okay, fantastic. Yeah, I'll send you a copy of the presentation. And anything else?
Can you send that to me as well? I'm gonna send it to my stepdad. This is exactly what he needs right now.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, I'd be very, very happy if you do that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and anyone else I think of.
So I'll send you both the presentation and a link to the recording.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Can I also just say it's really nice to see you again, Becky, because I haven't seen you for a while. Probably at
Yeah, you too.
So I'll come off. Oh, there we go. I'm back on big screen now. Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much for coming. I mean, it's great. Interesting that we had 4 Reiki people on the call.
Yeah.
Safety in numbers.
Well, it's amazing how you end up. I find that you end up kind of just thinking about the same things in often very similar ways. And I don't mean that we're all clones of each other, but have a similar kind of mindset about a lot of these problems, or a lot of these kind of the way we just think about life sometimes, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's energy. Once you start to I mean, quantum physics isn't all that difficult at the foundational level of it. I think and we start to learn about that, particularly in the groups that we're in. And once you have a fundamental understanding of how roughly it works, then you're on the same wavelength. You know, it's yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really good. I really appreciate your time, John.
No, it's a pleasure. Thank you. Appreciate your time too.
Right, I'm gonna go and make some food.
Right.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
very much.
See you soon.
Great weekends to all.
Take care. Bye.
Lots of love.
Bye. Lots of love.
Bye.